Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. We're going to talk about Rooster Teeth. We're going to talk about some of the drama surrounding Rooster Teeth, the layoffs, the alleged mismanagement by Gray Haddock, which we talked about in an earlier video, and I'm going to address some of the criticisms there. Gray Haddock has actually issued a statement on Twitter saying it's not true. It's not true. And in the interest of fairness, I'm going to read his statement. I'm going to talk about some developments that have happened since that video a couple of days ago, including another Rooster Teeth staffer getting gone. They are getting gone. Before we get into that, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We passed 61,000 subs this week. And we're hoping to hit 100,000 by the end of the year. I don't know if it's possible, but it would be amazing if you guys could help us out. Thank you so much for the support. We want to keep bringing you content. Now, here's the thing. Rooster Teeth had a very, very bad month. Actually, Rooster Teeth has had a very, very bad year. They had a bit of controversy earlier in the year about working conditions, which culminated in some people apparently getting gone or getting reshuffled back in the spring, but now they had 13% of their workforce being laid off just like last week. It's crazy. Rooster Teeth is now owned by Warner Media, which is cutting costs. Warner Media is owned by AT&T, and they are notorious penny pinchers. So expect to see more of this kind of thing happen to all AT&T Warner-owned companies. Now, we did a video a couple of days ago about some alleged insider information from a Rooster Teeth employee. And look, I'm going to tell you the truth. We did our research on the person that came to us, and they checked out. They absolutely did work for Rooster Teeth. And since we put that video up, you know, talking about some of the grievances they had against Gray Haddock in particular, blaming Genlock on the current situation at Rooster Teeth, saying that Gray was not well liked by a lot of his co-workers, and that, you know, basically a lot of the blame for the situation right now laid at his feet, and that he was terminated. He was terminated by the company and not just put out to pasture. Again, I don't work at Rooster Teeth. I don't know Gray Haddock. I only know what people are telling me, which is my disclaimer that, you know, when we have people come to us that say I worked for Rooster Teeth, and we could verify that, yes, they absolutely did work for Rooster Teeth, and then after we put the video out, we had 2 or 3 other individuals who also worked for Rooster Teeth corroborate their stories, it's either true or they believe it to be true. Again, I can't say for sure. I wasn't there. But I did pass along the information because it is interesting to watch Rooster Teeth go from being a powerhouse of independent animation to whatever the hell is going on now. There's a lot of weird stuff going on at Rooster Teeth right now. I don't think we're going to see the company in its current incarnation intact within a year or two. I think they're going to get absorbed into Elation or absorbed into Cartoon Network Studios. There's definitely something going on at the corporate level. But I digress. So Gray Haddock responded to a lot of these allegations. Now, it wasn't just us. I want to be clear. There actually is a Google Doc out there where a lot of the same kinds of information has been leaked out, and I will put a link to that. You can check it out for yourself. You can make your own mind up as to what you believe. Is it just disgruntled employees, a handful that had a problem with Gray? Or, you know, is it something more? Again, I can't say. I'm going to put the information out there. Make up your own mind. This is his Twitter defense, his Twitter explanation of the situation. And yes, this is a wall of text, so bear with me here. This is coming from Gray Haddock. Usually when someone wants to cast me as a villain, I'm shown a script or some art first. Hold for laugh. I don't know if too many people are laughing. I've seen some really wild stuff go by the last many days, and I've held back for any number of reasons, from basic PR wisdom of not giving a platform to trolls or clickbait, to not wanting to engage simply out of respect for the company-wide layoffs. But then the more egregious stuff goes by that will impact many other people if left unchecked, and then I have to step in. You have to step in. A lot of people have simply been asking sincere if panicked questions, and we'll get to those in a sec. Also, some 4chan jokers and even the occasional anonymous source have piled on. I'm just going to jump in here. There have been a couple of anonymous sources that have leaked information to the Rooster Teeth Reddit, but I will 100% verify that our source, the source that came to us, absolutely did work for Rooster Teeth. Again, I'm not going to divulge who it was because I don't want to cause them any grief as they're trying to find another job in the animation industry, but they absolutely did work for Rooster Teeth. As for the more sensationalistic tweets, clickbait vids, gotcha docs, etc., I've yet to see anything that is correct, and a lot of it is genuinely backwards compared to what the reality was. There's no purpose in doing a point-by-point takedown of everything that is so wrong with the content of this stuff. A lot of it goes away with common sense. And if I were in a position to do anything like publish my calendar, show you production budgets, clear up what company or exec called for what campaign or action, the remaining gotchas would evaporate. But people are either opportunistic in denial or, and this is the complicated thing, in legit pain and confusion, as they're never allowed the additional business context that would poke a hole in their thinking. Now, that's one thing you have to realize too. Like, and I'm not saying that our sources were incorrect, but when you're put in a situation like this, when you lose your job, as someone who's been laid off before, you're angry. You're angry. And, you know, if you immediately start looking for people to blame. Now, sometimes it's easy to see what the problems are, but sometimes it's not so easy. So is it possible that the people that got laid off from Rooster Teeth were just angry about the layoffs and looking for someone to blame? Yeah, it is possible. But I'm just going to tell you that, again, this isn't just one person that came to us. Initially, it was one person, and then we had two or three other people confirm, corroborate the story. They came to us independently, not at the prompting of the first source, as far as I can tell. So, you know, regardless of whether or not it's true, it is believed by many former Rooster Teeth staff to be true that Gray Haddock was actually the culprit, and that Genlock was what's led to the current situation. That's their belief. Again, I wasn't there. In general, yeah, people really wish they could pin their woes on a villain in times like these. I get it. In no way am I saying I'm perfect either. In the 8 years I went to the wall for the company, I apologized for the mistakes I could and at least tried to learn in hindsight. The first 3 years of my company, I was a contractor, dismissed immediately upon the wrap of each project. My brand new wife got to see me 2 to 3 nights a week because we slept at the office to get the job done. It sounds like they had a problem with crunch back then. Public record, see podcast. Yeah, they had a huge problem with crunch back then. It's a little ridiculous to say I'm not sensitized to that sort of phenomenon. It's pretty much all I can say about it. The more genuine questions revolve around whether you should read into the layoffs or my departure as changing the chances of any one given show, or if an animated show caused the layoffs. In between the usual knee-jerk stuff, there was at least one pleasantly astute discussion about general business rhythms and M&As in the main subreddit. Maybe pay more attention to that commentary for perspective. That's a really good amount of what we built together in animation that's intact. A lot of talented, skilled people are still there, caught in the middle of an awkward as hell situation, and I feel that panic or speculation about the show or department's chances during this time does do them a disservice. There's no need to assume that the departure of any one given person somehow massively alters the team's chances to do great things, much as no one person is a company-wide culture. I know they will continue to do their best, much as I did mine, when given the confines and pressures. Yeah, but when you're the showrunner, when you're the head honcho, when you're the guy in charge of that show, and you're gone, and your team is looking at that, I would be worried. I'd be like, oh my God, this is bad. This is bad. They got rid of the boss. When I was laid off from a marketing job a number of years ago, they got rid of my boss before they got rid of me. They basically got rid of my boss because he was the easiest scapegoat. He was also the most expensive employee in our department. They kept me around. I was number 2. You can make jokes. I don't care. I was number 2 in that department. So I was kept around for a couple months after they got rid of him because I could finish up his work and do it cheaper than he could. But I knew when he was gone, when they got rid of him, and they weren't promoting me, that something was definitely changing. Then they eventually brought a new boss in who brought his own staff in, and I was out the door. So yeah, they're going to be concerned, because this means if they're getting rid of Gray, that, you know, this does change a lot of things. And again, just going back to AT&T and Warner, these may not even be Rooster Teeth mandates. They might just be doing what their corporate overlords are telling them to do, because AT&T, and I've heard from multiple people working at different divisions in AT&T, working in and around Cartoon Network people, that AT&T and Warner Brothers are pinching pennies like crazy, and animation is not at the top of their to-do list right now. They are trying to gear up for their part in the streaming war with HBO Max, and animation is crazy expensive and slow as hell to produce. So, you know, there are a lot of people afraid of a fallout, even at Cartoon Network, probably a deletion in Crunchyroll. You know, it's not just Rooster Teeth. This is a bigger issue. But again, I'm just passing on what insiders have told me, that the debacle, the issue with Genlock, that it went over budget, that it was mismanaged, etc., is what will put a target on Rooster Teeth. And AT&T did some digging, and that led to these decisions. Again, I'm just passing information along. I cannot verify. I can only verify the source did in fact work for Rooster Teeth. For the same business and legal reasons, you don't get any context or details accompanying negative headlines out of any given company. You sadly also don't hear about a lot of good stuff that is also deeply under the hood. Weird but true. And of course, I'm talking hypothetically here. You're simply not getting to hear about the history of positive changes, what team has actually been perfectly fine for how long, or what remedies one department offered when an outside department confused employees, or what improvements were put into place when, because any such statement would acknowledge the company had a challenge it wanted to work on in the first place. So a company might say nothing, which is a shame, but just because any given company or corporate chain might opt to black box all that information, it doesn't mean positive things hadn't happened. This is really going around and around here. And it definitely would not be in the troll's interest to mention anything positive. Bottom line, there's still good people there trying to do good work, and that must be respected. Nobody is saying that there aren't good people working at Rooster Teeth. Nobody is saying that. Nobody's saying that. What we're saying, and what the sources are saying, is that a lot of good people got gone because of poor decisions made by the company. It doesn't mean that it's a complete dumpster fire. It doesn't mean that good things aren't also happening. But according to these sources, because of some major snafus, some good people got gone, and now they're looking for work. You know, so regarding Genlock specifically, its chances, impact on broader things, etc., I point you to publicly available statements and stats. It's been several times that the show will launch and relaunch on multiple platforms, multiple times through the year. Speculation when you don't have data is silly. So basically, he's addressing the fact that these insiders have said that Genlock has underperformed massively. It's not the hit that Rooster Teeth was hoping for. It went over budget because of production and voice talent, and redos, endless redos. I don't work there. I just know what people have told me from, you know, Warner Brothers' position, AT&T's position, that they're looking to cut costs at every opportunity. So now that some real indicators are starting to hit, maybe take a look at how it's been doing on Cartoon Network. It was consistently the number animated 2 show behind Dragon Ball. For all of Saturday cable in its first 6 weeks, and episode 6 broke into the top 10 Saturday cable shows of any kind against college football. This is not meaningless nor unnoticed thanks to anyone who's been supporting it there. I'm happy to work with Rooster Teeth as an independent creative, much as other folk continue to do so, because I was upset with where some company strategy and messaging went. As this is part of my personal career history, I feel comfortable sharing that I had a conversation with an executive back at the beginning of 2018 as animation started on Genlock, in which we agreed it was nearing the time for us to decide if I let go operational duties and focus strictly on creative, or vice versa. In Q2 of 2018, I was granted the 3 full-time headcount needed to begin offloading the bulk of my managerial duties, with all that stat implies. I transferred supervising producer duties, hands-on logistics management for all shows. You can spot check that. I stopped being credited as such on RWBY 6, Genlock, etc. hired a new second person to handle all department budgets and accounting responsibilities beneath a certain financial threshold. Lastly, I created a department coordinator position for offloading all broader studio and facility efforts. Wasn't this a lot easier when it was just a couple of guys doing animation, like kind of lo-fi? You know, it sounds like Rooster Teeth is very, very bloated compared to what it used to be. I'm looking at like all of these positions for this one animation studio as an outsider. And again, I've worked in companies that were frankly larger than Rooster Teeth, and we didn't have this many people doing this many things. I'm just going to put that out there. That's how we rolled last year. I did, however, have strategic oversight, which is why I ultimately still took responsibility for absolutely anything that may have happened specifically inside animation while on my watch, and have expressed that previously to the crew. At the end of May 2019, we discussed the completion of my transition out of the remaining strategic duties. And the company offered the title of creative director with emphasis on animation. June was June. Now I'll be doing my creative work as an independent. Yes, that can certainly include Rooster Teeth work. Couple things here. One, March 2019 is never mentioned. And that was one of the things that the insider told us, was that there were layoffs in March that were under the radar, that nobody's talking about what happened in March. Two, I have a really hard time believing that he planned to leave this way, because they got rid of him and brought in an interim production supervisor, Margaret Dean from Elation, in kind of a panic move as a reaction to the backlash over the crunch time and poor scheduling, etc., etc. That's not something you do if this was an organic transition. So I'm gonna call shenanigans on that, just based on armchair observation. The rest of the stuff I can't comment on. I'm just saying this is what he said. This is his defense. I've already had people come to me and say, "Hey, we saw this tweet, and you know, this is not true." A lot of this, or it's true from a certain point of view, and I think that's really where a lot of this lays is what's, you know, it's true from a certain point of view, and everybody's gonna have their own point of view on what went wrong, what actually happened. The unfortunate truth is a lot of people are out of work. It's very possible it could have been avoided, or at least the damage mitigated, but it's too late now. So, you know, where everybody's going to go from here, hopefully, I wish them luck. Again, Ellie Main has left Rooster Teeth as well. So we have another one. So Ellie Main was not part of the layoff. She said, "Hi everyone, this is my last week at Rooster Teeth. To avoid any speculation, I was not part of the layoffs that happened last week. Rather, this was a decision that I came to after a great deal of soul searching, a slight mental breakdown, and a lot of tears. Shame is the great killer of vulnerability, and creativity requires vulnerability." What is she talking about here? I'm super proud of the work I was able to do here. Would have loved to do more. I'm at a point in my life where if I don't take a massive step of faith in the direction I want my creative life to go, I might never do so. So the content I so desperately want to make simply doesn't align with the Rooster Teeth style and comedy voice that has long been established, and that's okay. I'm scared, I'm terrified, but excited to venture into the unknown a bit and pursue my own personal projects. So this is interesting. She's leaving on her own after some soul searching. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I mean, people are leaving on their own now, too. So we had layoffs. I mean, look, if I were in a position to do so, and I saw my bosses get gone, and I wondered what the future was going to hold, and I had an opportunity to go do something else, I would absolutely do it. Because right now, my own personal opinion, if I were working at Rooster Teeth, I would be updating my resume. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.